Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Every day in America, 7,700 people die. That means 2.8 million Americans die every year. One day, that'll be you and me. The average American lives 78.6 years, which is actually going down a little bit. That's because Americans aren't as healthy as we should be. We have bad diets and bad habits, and, well, we're all kind of stressed out a bit, worrying about everything from bills to relationships to how our damn sports teams are doing. To put into perspective our daily death rate, when we have a pandemic, such as in spring 2020, we can expect a peak of anywhere between 1,800 and 2,500 deaths per day. So on a typical day, 7,700 Americans die, but during a pandemic, up to 10,000 Americans or more may die. In certain parts of the country, people die at a higher rate than in other places. Some of us are healthier than others, and some of us have more dangerous jobs than others. In this video, we're going to talk about the states where people die a lot more often. We'll get into why and who isn't dying and a lot of the other details. So sit back and thank God you're alive as we visit the states where sometimes it can seem like a ton of people are dying. We're going to begin our journey through America's death traps in the state of Oklahoma, which is in the South or the Midwest, depending on how you look at it. In Oklahoma, the death rate per 1,000 people is 10.3, which means every year, on average, 40,600 people in Oklahoma die, or 111 people in Oklahoma die every day. And every hour, 4 people in the Sooner State pass away. That may seem like a lot, or it may seem like a little, but per capita, it's the 10th highest in the nation. In a little bit, we'll talk about why certain regions of the country are dying at a higher rate. But for perspective, let's talk about the state with the lowest death rate in America, Utah, which has a death rate that's 5.8 per 1,000. Now, why would Utah have a far lower death rate than Oklahoma? Mainly lifestyle choices. There are many differences between healthy states like Utah and relatively unhealthy states like Oklahoma. In Utah, smoking and drinking rates are far lower, and people are wealthier and have higher educations. Less income and lower education levels means higher stress levels. In places like Oklahoma, people lead a lifestyle that leads to early death. Not too far away is the state of Tennessee. Here, the death rate per 1,000 people is a teeny bit higher than in Oklahoma. Heart disease and cancer are the leading causes of death in Tennessee. Tennessee is right on the edge of the Bible Belt, a region of America where people are far more religious per capita. Which begs the question, do religious people have healthier lifestyles? Despite evidence that shows that southern states are the most obese and are the most likely to smoke and drink, study after study show that the more religious you are, the more healthy you are. Interesting. And by the way, 72% of Americans think they'll go to heaven, but only 60% of Americans think their friends will go to heaven. Of all religions, Catholics believe they'll go to heaven the most, and Catholic women believe they'll go to heaven more than Catholic men do. Also interesting, we think that 1 of 4 of our friends will go to hell. What the? That's just terrible. So I think 25% of my friends will go to hell. I mean, I have some friends that I think are pretty weird, but thinking they're going to go to hell is really out there. Or is it? Moving on, we come to the state of Pennsylvania, where 10.6 of 1,000 people will die each year. That's the 8th highest in the country. If you live in Pennsylvania, you might be like, shoot. Of course, the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl back in 2018, and a lot of people in Pennsylvania died and went to heaven. Now, what about the countries with the highest and lowest death rates? You can see here that the countries with the highest mortality rates are places in Eastern Europe, countries like Bulgaria, Latvia, Lithuania, Serbia, and Russia itself, mostly because they have bad diets and bad habits. Which countries live the longest? Surprisingly, it's places in the Middle East: Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Israel, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and then some countries in South America. Why? Experts say it's the Mediterranean diet: a small amount of wine, fresh vegetables, fruits, nuts, olive oil, and little meat and little fat. And due to oil production, these places are relatively wealthy enclaves as well. Here in the state of Ohio, people die at a slightly higher rate than they do in Pennsylvania. Why? Well, what's most troubling about Ohio's population isn't that the older people are dying earlier, it's that the middle-aged people are dying younger. That's when we're supposed to be in the prime of our lives. Issues in Ohio that are causing this trend are infant mortality, self-harm, and drug use.
I don't ever want to die.
I don't want you to ever die either, Mappy. Can Maps die?
He'll just get all old and wrinkly and fall apart. You're already old and wrinkly.
Okay, all right, that's not nice. This is a serious subject and you guys are chipping at one another? Come on, guys. I swear, sometimes I think those two want to be unhappy. Here in Kentucky, the death rate is 10.8 per 1,000 people, which is number 6 in the US. The reasons? Same thing as Ohio, just at a slightly higher rate. But here's an interesting chart. Check this out. You can see here that there are certain months where Americans die at a much higher rate. Like in the summer months, we die a lot less often, but then winter comes and we die more, especially during the holidays. There's 2 reasons for that. One is many older family members who are about to die hang on for one more holiday with family members and then pass away. Another reason, hospital staffing is lower during the holidays, which means people who need help might die easier when they're taken to the hospital.
Part of life's eternal.
Charlotte? Charlotte? Charlotte!
Another southern state, Mississippi, has one of the highest death rates per capita in the nation. That may not come as a surprise considering, well, this is pretty much the unhealthiest state in the nation. Mississippi has the highest infant mortality rate in the country, which is terrible. But the good news is things are getting a little bit better here in terms of infant care, which is great. Now, a little bit ago, I talked about the leading causes of death in the US. Here's a chart which shows the average number of deaths per year by cause. As you can see, heart disease and cancer, along with diabetes and emphysema, are the biggest reasons we die, and are all linked to lifestyle choices. But accidents are the 3rd leading cause of death in America. But not like falling off of a bike or car wrecks, although that's part of it. This also includes medical errors, which is troubling. And also of note, people inflicting self-harm. Here in the US, 5 people take their lives every single hour, which is very troubling. Now we're going to remain in the South as we have a tie. Both Arkansas and Alabama have a death rate of 11 people per 1,000 residents. The one situation that stands out in Arkansas is the maternal mortality rate, which is the 4th highest in the US. The state of Arkansas has been working on a solution to fix that problem, but it's troubling that Black American mothers die at a rate 3 times higher than white mothers. Another issue here in Arkansas, sadly, is the rising number of people who take their own lives. You can see on this chart, that number has ticked up in a big way in the last 15 years. In Alabama, heart disease and cancer are leading causes of death. The great news here is that infant mortality rates in Alabama are the lowest they've ever been. The big problem here is income disparity. While Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation, Alabama ranks as the 5th poorest itself. Understandably, high poverty rates mean access to quality health care is hard to come by.
Big Bird, don't you remember we told you? Mr. Hooper died. He's dead.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, I'll give it to him when he comes back.
Big Bird, when people die, they don't come back.
Now, surprisingly, Maine ranks as a state with the 2nd highest death rate in the nation, just a tick above Alabama. Now, what's also interesting about Maine is this state's natural rate of increase, meaning the number of people born versus the number of people that die is negative. There's only 2 other states like that, New Hampshire and our next state. Now, Maine folks are pretty concerned about this. They call it the demographic winter. The rapidly growing older population, coupled with the slow rate of reproduction here, means the Maine economy will suffer, unless Mainers start, well, having babies again. How do you convince a population to have more babies? Let us know in the comments below.
All this talk about dying. I've decided I need a will.
Huh. Well, that's a smart idea, Mappy. What would you put in it? And who would get all your stuff?
I've decided that I want little Ricky to have my Bigfoot binoculars, the pirate hat I took from the gangster in Memphis, and my coon hat. To my daughters, I leave Yappy, my car, and my fishing pole.
Okay, well, Mappy, I promise. I'll be sure to stick all that stuff in a box and give it to your kids should you die. By fire. JK, Mappy, I would never do that. Come on now. Geez, so sensitive. Well, Mappy probably doesn't have to worry about dying anytime soon, but he would if he lived in West Virginia, which has by far the highest death rate of all U.S. states at 12.8 per 1,000 residents. And West Virginia's negative natural rate of increase is about double that of Maine, which means there are more people dying here than being born. If you want to see why America's life expectancy is going down, West Virginia is a good place to start. This state's a bellwether of bad health, predicting major problems years before they become severe nationally. Obesity and drug use are huge problems here. And if you look at the map nationally of the states where people are dying, you can see kind of a pattern. States like West Virginia that are poor states with high drug use, poor access to healthcare, and where unhealthy lifestyles are the biggest concerns. Now, the opposite of that are states with the lowest death rates. Utah, Alaska, California, Colorado, and others. Many of these are wealthier states where people exercise and choose healthy lifestyles. So that's it. If you're watching this, then that means you're still alive. You might wish you were dead after listening to my singing, but hey, at least you're still with us. During the time that this video ran, about 32 people in this country died, many from preventable issues. So as we sail away into the clouds, remember, we're all one phone call away from having our lives change forever. So appreciate what you have and love the ones you got, because one day you won't be around. So love a lot, treat others with respect, and live like every day is your last. Don't stress about stupid stuff. Everything's gonna be okay. Okay? If I die young, bury me in satin, lay me down on a bed of roses. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America. Peace.